What really happens when your heart stops? Is there a final moment of peace, or something far more terrifying waiting on the other side? For 14 minutes, I was clinically dead. And during those 14 minutes, I saw, felt, and heard things no living soul should ever experience. This isn't just a near-death experience. It's a spiritual confrontation, a descent, a revelation, a truth that burns deeper than any fire. Many people talk about lights, tunnels, a sense of calm. But what I encountered wasn't a tunnel. It was a collapse, a silent, cold void that stripped away everything I thought I knew. There were no comforting voices, no gentle guides, just panic, and then nothing. A black silence that felt eternal. Time vanished, sound disappeared, and in that emptiness, something began to stir, something ancient, something watching. You won't hear this on the news. They don't teach this in church, and most people who've seen what I saw never speak about it again, but I have to, because what I witnessed beyond death changed everything. And if even one person watching this can wake up before it's too late, then reliving this is worth it. If you've ever wondered what lies after that final breath, if you've ever asked yourself what really happens when the soul leaves the body, stay here. Don't click away. This story isn't just mine. It could be yours too. Before I take you with me into the fire, into the voices, into the truth that no one wants to hear, I need you to do one thing. If you're ready to confront the unknown, subscribe to this channel now. And tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like something was calling you from the other side? Something you couldn't explain? Because once the collapse begins, there's no going back. The darkness begins to shift slowly, like a living thing waking up around me. Not with sudden movement, but with a creeping transformation that feels wrong in a way I cannot explain. It isn't just darkness anymore. It's textured. It breathes. And as it breathes, I begin to sense that I am moving. Not falling exactly, but descending into something vast, something bottomless. There's no gravity here, yet there's no weightlessness either. It is a sensation unfamiliar to the living. My body, or whatever I am now, is being pulled deeper without choice, without resistance. I am aware that I am drifting, yet I cannot control where or how. I am not in command. Something else is. The air around me feels thick, if air is what this even is. Breathing has become irrelevant, and yet I am aware of breath, or maybe it's the memory of breath, still echoing in whatever soul remains of me. There is a pressure against my mind, like something unseen is closing in. Still, I say nothing. I cannot speak. I do not even know if I have a mouth. There are no limbs, no heartbeat, no lungs, and yet I am fully conscious, completely awake in this nightmare of silence. Then, within the black void, shapes begin to take form. They are not solid. They are not still. They pulse in and out of my perception, shifting like smoke underwater, flickering in patterns I can't recognize. At first, I think they are just illusions of my mind, but then I realize they're watching me. These forms, undefined and silent, seem to respond to my presence. Or perhaps I've entered their space, uninvited. They do not speak. They do not move in any way that makes sense. But I feel them. I feel the weight of their awareness pressing into me. It is cold and ancient, not evil. In a cartoonish sense, but hollow. Hollow in a way that suggests complete absence of love, light, mercy. These things are not human. They never were. My descent continues, and with it, the silence around me begins to crack. Not loudly, not like an explosion or a scream, but like something just beneath the surface is breaking apart. I start to hear what I can only describe as echoes. At first, they are soft, distant, like whispers carried on a wind that shouldn't exist. I can't make out any words. It's a chorus of indistinct sounds, layered, chaotic, unfinished. Some seem to call, others seem to cry, some seem to mock. Then I realize something that sends fear through every fiber of my being. I recognize one of the voices, not clearly, but enough to know it was once someone I knew, someone I lost. And their voice is here, among the echoes, distorted but undeniably familiar. I don't know what that means. I don't want to know, but I can't stop listening. The sound wraps around me like a vice, each wordless scream tightening its grip. There is no sky here, no up, no down, no horizon, only darkness layered upon darkness. But the deeper I go, the sharper my awareness becomes. I begin to feel things I cannot see. I know there are entities near me, moving beside me, but I cannot look directly at them. Not because I'm incapable, but because some primal instinct inside me refuses. Looking would mean something worse than fear. It would mean acknowledgement, and I know deep in whatever remains of my humanity that acknowledging them gives them power, or maybe it simply gives them permission. I feel exposed in a way I've never felt in my life, not naked, not physically, but spiritually, stripped down to whatever essence defines my soul. Every thought I ever buried, every sin I never confessed, every secret I hoped would die with me. It's all around me now, not just remembered. It's tangible here. The very air, if it is air, tastes like regret. The pressure on my chest grows tighter, though I no longer have a chest. This pain is not physical. It's spiritual. It's personal. It's surgical. And all around me, the descent continues. There's no floor, no bottom, only the promise of more. More sound, more shadows, more presence. I want to scream, but there's no sound left in me. I want to close my eyes, but I no longer have eyes. I am just here, trapped between what was and what now is. Not dead, not alive, just aware. Suddenly the whispers start to form patterns. Not language, but intention. I can feel the emotion behind them. Some are angry, others mournful, some are jealous. I know that sounds strange, but when your soul is laid bare, you hear emotion as if it had a voice of its own. One of the whispers grows louder, then retreats. It repeats this motion again and again, each time more forceful. It isn't just random, it's rhythmic, deliberate, like it's calling me or warning me. That's when I realize the most terrifying part of this descent. It's not chaotic. It's organized. It's not a random fall into oblivion. It's a path, a corridor, designed, structured, measured, like something or someone is guiding it. Like there is purpose in this torment, a reason behind the silence, the pressure, the voices. I am not here by mistake. This place knew I was coming. Awareness sharpens more than ever. Every moment I continue downward, I remember more. Flashes of my life come unbidden. Arguments, betrayals, words I never apologized for, people I hurt, people I forgot. I don't see their faces. I feel them. I feel how they felt when I failed them. Their pain, their confusion, their silence. It wraps around me like a shroud made of memory and shame. Yet despite the weight of it, despite the agony of awareness, I am drawn further still. The descent will not stop. I have no agency here. I have no voice. I am not a visitor. I am a participant. And the more I realize that, the more I begin to understand. I am not descending toward a place. I am descending into something. A consciousness, a judgment, a reckoning. This place doesn't need walls or fire or demons with horns. It knows how to punish with precision. It knows how to expose what you most want to hide, not with flames, but with truth. And that truth doesn't yell. It whispers, just loud enough so that you hear it again and again and again, until you can no longer remember the sound of your own name. The silence between the echoes becomes shorter. The voices become clearer. Still, distant, but closer. Still disjointed, but purposeful. I start to recognize more of them. Not just one, multiple. Friends, family, strangers whose lives crossed mine for seconds. Their presence isn't comforting. It's accusatory. Not by choice, by existence. My soul reacts to them like a mirror facing mirrors. Endless reflection, endless repetition of self. And through it all, the descent continues. There is no sign of slowing, no break, no moment of relief, just a constant unraveling of self, layer by layer, until I can no longer tell where I end and this place begins. The boundary is gone. I am not me anymore. I am memory. I am consequence. I am judgment unfolding in real time with no end in sight. As the descent stretches on, something begins to change. The endless void, once still and black, begins to peel away at the edges. It doesn't vanish. It withdraws, like a curtain lifting slowly to reveal something hidden beneath. The darkness doesn't fade into light. It surrenders to something far more terrifying. There's no sky above, no ground below, only a horizon of fire stretching in every direction. A fire that breathes, a fire that watches. It surrounds me, not as a wall, but as a world, an entire dimension made of flame, pulsing like a living organism. But this flame isn't normal. It doesn't flicker and fade like the fire we know. It floats, suspended in the air, slow-moving and deliberate. Embers drift past like snowflakes, glowing red and orange and gold, and yet they give off no warmth. Instead, they press inward, suffocating in a way that doesn't touch skin but squeezes the soul itself. I stand, though I feel nothing beneath me. No floor, no ground, no surface. And yet I'm upright, held in place by something invisible. I try to move, but the idea of movement feels foreign here. Not because I'm paralyzed, but because here, movement isn't needed. I am exactly where I'm meant to be, and that realization chills me more than the fire ever could. Around me, the flames twist and turn, not in chaos but in purpose. They don't just burn, they writhe. They weave around each other like serpents, reacting to my presence as if they've been waiting, watching, feeding. And inside the largest swells of flame, something stirs. Not clearly, not fully, but enough to know I'm not alone. These aren't flames consuming wood or matter. These are flames consuming memory, spirit, identity. They are alive. I try to take a breath. My chest rises instinctively, but what fills it is not air. It's ash. Thick, heavy. It tastes like everything I've ever wanted to forget. Like guilt, like shame, like the weight of every choice I thought would never matter. I cough, or I think I do. The sound doesn't come, but the sensation remains. The choking, the tightening, the despair that no breath can relieve. The light here is wrong. It pulses unnaturally. It doesn't brighten or dim in any rhythm I recognize. It surges like a heartbeat, but not mine. A deeper one, older. The glow around me is not light as we know it. It isn't comforting. It's invasive. It pierces through me, illuminating not just my form, but my essence. I feel seen in a way no human should ever feel. Not just watched, understood, interrogated, judged. In the far distance, if distance even exists here, I begin to see figures, not walking, not floating, just existing within the fire. They do not scream, but I hear their pain. It's in the movement of the flame. It's in the silence between pulses. Their forms are barely human, twisted in ways that suggest they once were something recognizable. Their limbs bend wrong. Their faces blur in and out of the flame, sometimes visible, sometimes absorbed entirely. But the emotions remain constant. Agony, regret, terror. I do not know their names, but I know their stories, not in detail, in feeling. They are souls, or what's left of them, trapped in cycles of memory, devoured by what they cannot undo. The fire around them doesn't burn them in the way we understand pain. It reveals them, peels away everything they used to hide behind, ego, lies, image, and shows them what remains. Some reach out as if pleading, some hide their faces in their hands, though hands here are barely hands. Others simply stare, empty, as if they've accepted this is all there ever was. As I observe, I realize something terrifying. The fire reacts to me. When I think of something painful, it grows. When I remember a lie I told, it twists tighter. It feeds off of memory, not just mine, but of those around me. This place does not punish with cruelty. It punishes with reflection. You don't suffer someone else's wrath. You suffer the weight of your own truth. And here, nothing stays hidden. I want to close my eyes, but I have no eyes to close. I want to cover my ears, but I have no hands. I want to look away, but I am part of this now. I can't separate myself from the scene, because the scene is inside me. This is not an outer reality. It's a mirror of the soul. A burning mirror that never cracks but shows every fracture within you. The more I try to deny it, the more the fire closes in. It moves slower now, deliberate, intelligent, like it's waiting for me to admit something, confess something, accept something. But I don't know what. I don't know what it wants. Or maybe I do and I'm just afraid to face it. Every second here feels like an hour. Time is fluid, meaningless, yet the suffering feels eternal. The more I stand in it, the more I understand how someone could be here for what feels like forever and never escape. Not because of chains, not because of torture, but because the soul cannot walk away from what it has become. This is not punishment, it's exposure. And within that exposure, I feel a presence. Not in front of me, not above or behind, but everywhere. It watches, not with eyes, but with essence. It doesn't speak, it doesn't move, but its presence is undeniable. It is the fire, or it commands the fire, or it was born from it. I can't tell. All I know is that I feel like it knows me, every part of me. Things I've forgotten, things I tried to hide. It knows, and yet it says nothing. It lets me feel, it lets me see, it lets me burn, not physically but spiritually, in the raw truth of who I really am. I try to remember who I was, what I believed, what I lived for, but the fire strips all that away. It leaves only motive, intention, the things that mattered when no one was looking, the choices I made when I thought no. One would know. This fire doesn't erase, it reveals, and it doesn't lie. It shows you the version of yourself that even you were afraid to see. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't hide from it. You can't pretend it never existed. You become it. As I stand there surrounded by the writhing, breathing flame, I feel something stir deep within the blaze. Not another figure, not another soul, something different, a memory, mine. It emerges from the fire like a face pressed against a window, staring in. It's a version of me, smiling, confident, proud, but the smile isn't kind. It's cruel, it's fake, and I realize in this place, even your self-deceptions take shape. The fire consumes that image in front of me, but not to destroy it, to preserve it, to show it again and again. It becomes part of the flame, joining the others. My worst self, recorded in eternal light, forever flickering in the corner of my soul. And still, the fire waits, watching, revealing, judging without words, without rules, without verdict. Because in this place, the punishment is the knowing. The flame does not kill, it teaches. But the lessons are carved into what remains of your spirit, impossible to forget, impossible to undo. Before you continue with this content that shows you what it's like to stand face to face with eternal judgment, you need to check out the ebook Secrets of Life. This book reveals deep teachings from the scriptures, truths long forgotten by many, lessons that will strengthen your faith, restore your spirit, and help you understand God's path even in your darkest moments. It's not just another book, it's a warning, a spiritual map for those who feel on the edge, between faith and emptiness, between the calling and the abyss. You don't have to wait for a life-altering wake-up call to open your eyes. After this video, click the link in the description and begin your spiritual turnaround today, because tomorrow might be too late. And just when the fire becomes unbearable, not in heat, but in awareness, the silence fractures, not shattered, not broken with a bang, just a shift, subtle at first, almost indistinguishable from the soundless pulse of the realm itself. It begins as a vibration, like the faint hum of energy swelling beneath the surface of everything. Then it begins to rise, from nowhere and everywhere at once. Murmurs, distant, layered, without direction, without origin. A chorus of breathless tones, not human, but undeniably shaped by human suffering. The kind of sounds made not with vocal cords, but with memory, regret, given voice. The murmurs circle me, surrounding like fog that speaks. They are too faint to understand, but not too faint to feel. Each sound leaves a trace, a pulse that slides over the edges of my being like invisible fingers scraping across raw nerves. Then the whispers come, clearer now, sharper, not in words at first, but in emotion. Every whisper carries a different signature. One is soaked in guilt, another in fear, another in something cold and mocking. None of them are mine, not yet, but all of them reach for me, like hands pushing through the flame, trying to make contact. One whisper cuts closer than the rest. It slides into my mind, wrapping itself around a memory I didn't know I still carried. And then I hear it, a name, my name, not shouted, not spoken with anger, just said, again and again, as if calling out from the bottom of a well that has no end. And in that voice I feel recognition. It knows me, or it knew me, and I know it. Though I can't place who, I feel it pull something loose in my soul. A face floats into my memory, flickers, then disappears before I can grasp it. The fire doesn't stop moving, neither do the voices. Then suddenly the whispers change. They multiply. They grow louder, not as individuals, but as a mass. Their weight becomes unbearable, not in volume, but in pressure. They overlap each other, layers upon layers, thoughts colliding, screaming over each other. It's like standing in the middle of a storm made entirely of voices. Some plead, some accuse, some cry, and some laugh. That laughter is the worst of all. It is not joyful. It is not hollow. It is broken. Laughter that comes from those who have gone so far into despair that they've accepted it as truth, as identity. I try to turn away from the sound, but there's nowhere to turn. The air around me is the sound. The fire itself carries the voices. Every ember now pulses with phrases, shouted, whispered, muttered, sobbed. They echo off nothing. They just persist, unrelenting. I want to cover my ears, but I have no ears. I want to close my eyes, but there is nothing left to close. The sound invades through existence itself, through thought, through awareness. One voice breaks through all the others. It repeats a single sentence, again and again, not faster, not louder, just heavier. Each repetition pounds through me like a hammer made of guilt. The words are simple, but they carry weight I cannot hold. They say what I've denied, what I've buried. They speak a truth that only this place can expose. I try not to listen, but in this place you don't have the luxury of ignorance. Truth is not an option. It's the atmosphere. As it repeats, I realize I've heard this voice before. Not recently, a lifetime ago. Buried so deep in memory I thought it was lost. But nothing is lost here. In this realm, even silence remembers. The voice belonged to someone I hurt. Not physically, not violently, but deeply. Someone I dismissed, ignored, left behind when they needed me. And now, that voice calls from within the fire, not for vengeance, not for justice, but for recognition, for acknowledgement, not even forgiveness. Just to be known, just to be seen, even in this place. The sentence continues. I try to answer, but I can't. Not because I am silenced, but because I have nothing to say that would matter. No defense, no excuse. Only the heavy, crushing knowledge that I am hearing now what I refused to hear then. The voices swell again. One becomes two. Two becomes dozens, hundreds, thousands. They call not only my name, but each carry stories I've tried to erase from my history. Things I did, things I didn't. People I judged, people I abandoned. Words I spoke and forgot, but they didn't. Some of the voices cry out in agony so deep it doesn't sound human. It sounds like broken glass being pushed into flesh, like wind howling through a hollow skull, like betrayal. And some voices don't scream at all. They speak in stillness, quietly reminding me of what I failed to become. They are not angry. They are disappointed. They are the voices of potential, of moments where I could have done more, but didn't. Could have said something, but stayed silent. Could have chosen compassion, but chose pride. And among them, some laugh, not in mockery, in madness, in resignation. Souls twisted so long in this realm of fire and noise that they've begun to laugh at their own damnation, at their own choices. They have accepted this eternal mirror. Some have become the sound itself, no longer individuals, just echoes with purpose. Echoes that press into every crack of who I am, pulling me apart from within. I feel myself being rewritten by the noise, not changed, but exposed. The fire continues to flicker, but now it dances in rhythm with the voices. It knows them. It echoes them. I feel that every flame around me is another soul, another scream, another story that the world above never heard. But here in this depth, they are endless. Each ember a confession, each flicker a memory. None of them can be escaped. There is no silence left, only layers of pain spoken into eternity. I try to hold on to a thought that is mine, Any thought, something pure, but the voices drown it out. They don't just speak, they build, layer upon layer. Their volume is irrelevant. It's the weight of them, the way they press on every part of me that still remembers being human. Every voice is a brick, and I am sinking beneath them. The sound becomes my breath, my vision, my heartbeat. It becomes everything, until I cannot tell where I end and the noise begins. They ask questions I don't know how to answer. They replay words I spoke in anger, in bitterness, in selfishness. Words I forgot, but they didn't. This place didn't. This fire doesn't forget. And the voices, they don't just want to be heard. They want to be understood. They want their pain to be felt, not with empathy, but with consequence. Because I was part of that pain. Because my existence left impact, and now that impact echoes endlessly here. I am not in hell in the way the world imagines. There are no flames licking skin, no devils with horns, no punishment chambers. But I am in something worse, a realm where the soul is torn apart by what it tried to forget. A realm where the whispers are louder than any scream, where truth is the fire, and your history becomes your judge. And through it all, that one voice continues, saying the same sentence again and again, not growing, not fading, just pressing deeper, until I can feel it etched into whatever I have left. I do not know when it will stop. I do not know if it can. I only know that with every repetition, the fire burns more clearly. The light pulses with more precision. The voices grow closer, not in location, but in intimacy. They are no longer around me. They are inside me. And the further I drift into their sound, the more I begin to understand what it means to be truly known and completely unable to hide. The voices do not fade. They settle. They become a backdrop to something deeper, something more personal. Their echoes transform into an atmosphere, constant, suffocating. Yet now, within that soundscape of agony, something begins to stir inside the fire itself. It doesn't move with rage or violence. It flows with precision, with intention, and as the flames around me begin to shift, they no longer behave like the fire I once feared. They become a canvas, a mirror, and the reflection they show me is not of my face. It is my life, not in scenes, not in photographs. What I see are not memories the way we remember them. They are feelings made visible, emotions given form, the weight of every choice I made, each one wrapped in its own color, its own temperature, its own unbearable presence. The fire becomes those moments. They rise out of it like specters and settle in front of me like a jury made of my own past. There is no voice narrating, no screen playing back the story, only the raw sensation of consequence, undeniable, inescapable. The first wave hits like a cold wind. It carries guilt, not for what I did, but for what I didn't do. The silence when someone cried and I turned away. The moments when someone needed a word, a hand, anything, and I chose comfort instead. The fire shows these not as punishments, but as vibrations, reverberations of pain sent out by my absence, my apathy. I feel their loneliness as if it were my own. I feel the sting of being ignored, the fear of being invisible. Except it isn't me reliving it, it's me becoming it. The pain I caused is now mine to wear. Another wave. This one is heavier, darker. It brings forward the lies, not just the spoken ones, but the ones I lived, the ones I used to shape how others saw me, the masks I wore, the roles I played, the truths I twisted just enough to benefit myself. The fire doesn't scream these lies back at me. It wears them. It becomes them. And as it does, it wraps around me, closing tighter and tighter until I can't tell if I'm still breathing, if I ever was. I want to deny it, to argue, to say I did my best, but no such voice comes. And even if it did, this place would silence it before it formed. Here, you don't speak your truth. You face the truth, the absolute version, the one stripped of excuses, stripped of ignorance, stripped of ego. And what remains is horrifying. I am not being judged by others. There is no divine finger pointing, no gavel slamming down, no courtroom. The judgment comes from within. My soul turns against me, not in anger, but in exposure. It drags out every buried thing I never wanted to feel again and lays it bare, not just to see, to relive. Only this time, I feel it with the weight it carried for others. I feel it multiplied, echoed through time. The fire doesn't burn me physically. It burns the layers I once used to protect myself. It strips away the armor of rationalization, the comfort of forgetting, the illusion of innocence. And when all that is gone, what remains is a version of myself I can barely stand to look at. And yet I cannot look away. There are no demons laughing, no screams from monsters, just the echo of my own actions replayed in emotional form. A friend I betrayed, a family member I neglected, a stranger I ignored when they were clearly in need. Not dramatic failures, not cinematic sins, but accumulations of selfishness, quiet cruelties, invisible wounds. And now, each one plays out in the fire, not in sequence, but all at once. I see a child cry, and I remember walking away. I feel the sting of their tears now, not as an observer, but as the recipient. I see a look of hope in someone's eyes, and the moment I crushed it with a careless word, that hope becomes a flame. It wraps around me, not to burn, but to remind, to embed, to teach. The most unbearable truths are not the big ones, not the life-shattering regrets. It's the small ones, the moments I dismissed, the gestures I withheld, the words I never said, because now I understand they mattered more than I ever imagined. The fire teaches that nothing is small. Every choice, every moment echoes into the soul of another, and when you're here, you hear them all coming back. I begin to see versions of myself emerge from the flame, not physically, spiritually. Different masks I wore for different people, different shades of me, each one tailored to gain approval, avoid conflict, hide shame. The fire doesn't destroy them. It holds them up, lets me study them, and each one looks at me, not with anger, with accusation, a silent question. Why? There's nowhere to hide from the question, nowhere to escape to. Because here escape is a foreign concept. There's only exposure, only truth, and that truth weighs more than any chain. I feel it pressing down on every part of me, not as punishment, as consequence, and that's what makes it worse. Punishment can be argued, fought, negotiated, but consequence is final. It simply is. I try to hold on to the idea that I was a good person, that I tried, that I meant well, but here, intention dissolves. All that matters is the result. The ripples I created in the souls of others, the impact I had when I thought no one was watching. And now each of those ripples returns as a wave, crashing over me with relentless force. There are moments where I feel myself screaming inside, not out of fear, out of recognition of who I truly was, not who I pretended to be. The person I showed to the world was a shadow. The one I am now, the one standing exposed in this realm of fire and voices, is the real one. And the truth of that self is too heavy to carry. Yet I carry it, because there's no other choice. There's no curtain to pull over it, no timeline to run from it, no future to distract me from it. There's only now, this eternal now, where everything I've ever done lives, with me, breathes with me, burns within me. The fire shifts again, and I feel a new layer rising, not from around me, but from within. A memory I never thought mattered begins to form. A conversation I had, a joke I made, something I laughed at that wasn't funny, something that left a mark on someone else. And the fire shows me that mark, that scar, that consequence. The unbearable truth is not that this place exists. It's that it existed inside me all along. Every decision, every hidden motive, every dismissed responsibility was part of it, built it, fed it, and now I'm here, not because I was sent, but because I arrived, by my own steps, my own choices, my own path. There is no one else here to blame. There is no one else's voice louder than my own. The fire doesn't accuse, it reveals. The voices don't punish, they remind. The truth doesn't scream, it simply refuses to leave. It embeds itself into whatever remains of me, deeper than memory, deeper than identity. It becomes the foundation of who I am in this place. And the worst part is, I know there's still more. The fire hasn't finished. The voices haven't said everything. The silence hasn't shown all it holds. What I've seen is only the beginning of what I must now confront. Not with resistance, not with bargaining, but with the raw, searing understanding that everything I thought was buried is only just beginning to rise. And just when I begin to surrender to it, to the crushing permanence of this truth, something shifts again. Not a sound, not a light, not a force, just stillness. For the first time since arriving in this place of flame and noise and memory, everything halts. The fire pauses its dance. The voices fall silent, not fading, but freezing in mid-scream, mid-plea, mid-laugh. Even the weight of judgment ceases pressing, as if the entire realm inhales and holds its breath. In that silence, I feel something else, not coming from outside, not rising from within, just being, a presence, no shape, no name, no voice, yet undeniable. It is not here to interrogate, to accuse, to comfort, or to punish. It simply is, like truth given consciousness, like mercy wearing silence. It does not pull me, it does not push, it does not demand anything, it simply arrives. And its arrival is enough. The realm around me resists. I feel it tightening, not to harm, to hold, to keep, as if this place does not want me to go, as if my belonging here has already been decided, and this interruption is an unwelcome breach in what should have been final. The fire flares once more, not to consume, but to protest. The embers swirl in hesitation. The voices try to speak again, but the presence quiets them without a word, without emotion, without a sound. Then, from within the silent core of this presence, I feel myself begin to rise, not upward, not outward, just away. I am being lifted, not carried, not rescued, just removed, gently, firmly, without violence. And I realize in that moment that I am not escaping. I am being returned. Returned to what? I don't know yet, but the pull is undeniable. And for the first time I feel the sensation of movement without fear. The resistance doesn't stop. The realm clings to me like ash on skin, like smoke in lungs. The remnants of all I've seen and heard do not release easily. They try to follow, to hold, to remain. But the presence is stronger, not in power, in authority. Whatever it is, it has the final word here. Then, just as the fire threatens to rise again, just as the silence begins to break, the light comes. It doesn't emerge slowly. It slices through. A thin, blinding line at first, then a flood. It doesn't glow. It pierces. It doesn't warm. It commands. It pushes through the last remnants of the realm, carving a path back through everything I thought I had accepted. The fire falls away. The voices retreat. And the unbearable weight lifts, not fully but enough. I feel breath, not just the memory of breath. Actual breath, filling lungs I had forgotten, stretching ribs I thought I had lost. And then I hear it, that sound, the beeping, monitors, footsteps, voices, real voices, human ones, calling my name. And in that instant, I feel my heart slam inside my chest, as if it had been thrown back into my body like a command, not a restart, a resurrection. The darkness collapses, the heat disappears, the silence is replaced by chaos, cold metal, bright lights, a room. I know this room. My eyes open, and the first thing I see is a ceiling, white, sterile, shaking from the blur of sudden tears. I am in a hospital, alive, returned, but I am not the same. Because everything I saw, everything I felt, everything that was poured into me in that place remains. It burns not in flesh, but in memory. And that fire, that truth, is something I will never forget, something I will carry for the rest of my life.